Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, where today we are taking a look at the books that I plan to read in the month of June. And this month we are aiming for a more realistic list, as in fewer than I have been doing in the past. I am trying really hard to not set myself up to be really anxious that I'm not reading enough, because that's just silly. So, new and improved with fewer books. But let's just jump right in. And the first book on my list is A Hero's Guide to Deadly Dragons by Cressida Cowell, the sixth book in the How to Train Your Dragon series. As previously mentioned, this is a series that my older child is asking me to read, well, my spouse and me to read, and we have been. It is definitely an elementary school series, which I generally do not pick up for a reason, but I did say I would read it, so I am. But in this particular volume, Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III, our main character, and his dragon, Toothless, are facing a slightly unusual situation in that Toothless is going to be banished from the Isle of Berk. And to save him, Hiccup needs to go to the library and steal a book. I don't know why the banishment is happening. I don't know why Hiccup needs to go steal a book. I don't really know. I assume that the story will explain itself as I read it, but there you go. After that, I do have the two October Day books that I will be reading this month, A Red Rose Chain and Once Broken Faith. These are books, I think, 9 and 10 in the October Day series by Seanan McGuire. If you don't know, this series is about October Day, who is a half-fae, half-human changeling knight who tends to get asked to solve some really weird problems because she's just kind of best suited to solve these really weird problems. And in this first book, there is an incident that happens in her kingdom, and it is traced back to a different local kingdom, that, like, a neighboring kingdom. And so Toby is asked to go be a diplomat in that neighboring kingdom and figure out what's going on. Of course, this is a very silly idea because Toby is not a good diplomat, so immediately things go wrong. And then in Once Broken Faith, obviously, because of this diplomatic mission, some information came out, good and bad, and everybody's trying to process it. So a convocation is called of kings and queens across the country, and they are starting to have their convocation, and a dead body turns up. And so now we're in murder mystery territory. Everybody gets locked in, and Toby needs to find the killer before they strike again. I am very excited to read those books because we are getting into the part of the series that I just adore. I love these books. And then after that, we have Network Effect by Martha Wells, which is the fifth book in the Murderbot Diaries. So I did have this on my May TBR, but there's no way that I'm going to get to it by the end of the month, so I just shoved it off into June. I am excited to read this though, so I should be reading it in June. But essentially this follows Murderbot, who is an AI of sorts, and in the first novella in this series, they are working for a corporation as kind of a guard. Basically, they go out with scientists or explorers to new planets and then help them stay safe from the local flora and fauna. Now, through the first four novellas, Murderbot was kind of trying to figure out who they are as a person, and they did start to do that. And now in this book, some of their humans have been kidnapped, and so they have to kind of decide how to get them back. I am very excited. This is the first full-length novel in this series, and this is my favorite science fiction series, so I am just so excited to read this book. And then we get to the books that fit the theme for this month. And this month, the theme is actually based off of two videos that I have done. The first is called the top 5 fantasies that I'm excited to read, and five science fiction books that I'm excited to read. So all of the books this month, at least the ones that I'm going to show you next, they all were featured on one of those two videos. So let's start with Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. No, I have never read this book, which is kind of amazing because everybody on YouTube seems to love this book. like I said, you guys, I had said when I DNF'd Steelheart, I was planning on reading Mistborn. So now we're going to do that. But I am very excited to read this book. However, I'm also a little apprehensive because it is such a well-loved book that, like, I don't really want to, I'm trying to keep my expectations realistic so I don't go in with my hopes too high and then be disappointed. But essentially, this is a book where 1,000 years ago there was, you know, the epic battle between the villain and the hero lost, and now the villain has been ruling for 1,000 years. And so now there is enough unrest and talk of uprising that it is starting to happen. So there you go. After that, we do have Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This is a story where there is a wizard who kind of keeps everything, who protects a local village, and the only thing that they seem to ask is that every once in a while they pick a person to be their apprentice. And of course our main character gets picked to be their apprentice. Now this has some tropes that I really generally love. However, after I made the video about the 5 fantasies that I'm excited to read, which this was featured in, I did find out that there are some things that I generally hate. So we'll see how this goes. I have kind of prepared myself for the fact that I may DNF this. I am hopeful that it won't be a problem and I'll end up just loving it, but I have prepared myself just in case. Either way, I'm going to give it a good shot. After that, we do have Magic Bites and Magic Burns, the first 2 books in the Kate Daniels series by Ilona Andrews. Now, this is a very interesting urban fantasy series, which is set in an alternate Atlanta, Georgia, actually. And the world itself is incredibly interesting. So basically there is magic and there is technology, but they don't both work at the same time. Basically there's waves of magic that come through and last for a while, and that's when everything magic works, but nothing technology does. And then when that magic wave kind of passes, it's in a technology wave and everything technology works and none of the magic does. So I think that's an incredibly interesting world. And I have read half of this series, so these first 2 books are a reread. And I do like how that world plays out. But we are following our main character of Kate Daniels, who is a mercenary. And in this first book, her mentor has been killed and she is trying to track down the killer. I am very excited. It's been a long time since I've read these, so I do need to reread them before I go ahead and finish out the series, but I am excited to get back into it. After that, we have Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie, and this is a book that I heard so much hype about. It is a Hugo and Nebula award-winning novel, but basically we are following our main character of Breck as they are on a vengeance quest, essentially. They used to be a colossal starship, and now they're like, the intelligence part of it was taken out of the starship and put into, I think, a human body, I don't honestly know why, but it was. I'm excited. Everything I've heard about this just says that it's a really, really good book. And so I'm very excited to see what I think about it. After that, we have 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. And this is a young adult science fiction, alternate worlds kind of book. We're following our main character of Marguerite, who is the daughter of 2 brilliant physicists, one of whom, her mother, invented a thing called the Firebird, which allows you to jump into different alternate universes. And then her dad is straight up murdered by one of his students, and then before the law can catch him, he jumps into an alternate universe, so Marguerite jumps after him to kind of figure out what is going on, and obviously to try to catch him. And this sounds so incredibly interesting. I think the thing that I think is the most interesting is that when you jump into alternate universes, you actually jump into the body of the you that exists in that world. So it's not like there's 2 of you running around. There's just the one. But so you get to experience a bunch of different lives. I mean, it's the ultimate what if, right? So I am so excited to see how this goes. Also, the cover is beautiful, so I really appreciate that. Yes, very excited about this one. And then lastly, we have Grimspace and Wanderlust, which are books 1 and 2 of the Sarantha Jax series by Ann Aguirre. Now, this is a series where I actually have read the entire series, and I remember nothing about it. Okay, no. I remember like a total of like 4 scenes over 6 books. I can't tell you, like, I don't know what any of them are about. I just remember those like 4 scenes. So I figured I would reread them and see how I feel about them now. But we follow our main character of Sarantha Jax, who is a jumper. Basically, she has a mutation of a very specific gene that allows her to kind of plug into a spaceship and move that whole spaceship through space, kind of like a warp drive. It's like a human warp drive. It's very interesting. But in this first book, Sarantha Jax crashed a ship, and now she doesn't remember anything, but she's in jail and being interrogated about it. And then somebody comes in to break her out and says, you can, we'll get you out of here provided you help us with something that we're doing. And so it just follows from there. I am very excited to read this. I remember loving it. I remember crying at like every book, but I do remember loving it. So we'll see how I feel about it now. But that is it, you guys. A total of 12 books, but I figure that's okay because a bunch of them are going to be rereads, and so I generally go a little bit faster with those. Hopefully it's not too many, but we'll see. But I am very excited to read them all. If please let me know down below what you plan on reading in the month of June. If there's anything here that looks especially interesting to you, come talk to me about it. If there's anything you would like me to review, please let me know. But that is it. So until next time, guys, have happy reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.